right, we are here on Clay Chalkville's campus with defensive coordinator Matt Glover. This is an interview that I've definitely wanted to have for a long, long time because, I've seen your defenses from afar, and this is something kind of dig into your mind. But before we start digging into X's and O's, Coach, take us back to the early days, where you grew up and what that was like for you.
Yeah, I actually grew up in Roebuck area, not far from here. Played all my Little League ball at Center Point right over here. Parents moved to Springville in 9th grade, so I actually graduated from Springville. That's when Springville was a little 2A school. Mm-hmm. So graduated there. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. Went to college like everybody else and had too much fun at Alabama. Came back, ended up at JSU. I'll never forget. As a matter of fact, we talked about this the other day. I took my little brother to football practice, a 7th grader, and I dropped him off. And the head coach there was Coach Smith, Jeff Smith, who's just took the basketball job at Pell City. He'd been coaching at Springville since Moby Dick was a minnow. But he said, my other guys didn't come help me. Would you mind coming out here and helping me today? I was like, yeah, I ain't got nothing else to do. So I went out there and loved it. And ever since then,
So that's when you first did your first kind of coaching gig.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Yep. That's how that happened?
Yep. Dropped my little brother off at football practice. Now I'd helped in doing Little League baseball. Yeah. Helped my dad. And I actually, when I first started, I thought I actually got into baseball. Funny story. I started coaching at Springville. I guess that was 93, 94. I coached junior high. The next year, I helped out with baseball, varsity baseball. I didn't do football then because at that time, the head football coach never really asked me to help, but I helped out with baseball. And our baseball coach left after about 3 weeks into the season or in the school year, and they hired Chip Lindsey.
Wow.
Chip Lindsey, he just got out of college, and he was their head baseball coach. Some little known fact, Chip Lindsey is now the head coach at Troy State, started out coaching baseball. Yeah. And so I worked with Chip, helped him coach baseball. So that's actually when I first started teaching coaching was baseball, then I got into football. So
now that's a pretty unique story. Mm-hmm. A lot of people know him from his Auburn days and his OC there. Now, who was somebody like as you was growing up that definitely influenced you? That maybe kind of you looked at that guy and said, this is somebody. This don't have to be a coach. This could be a family member or just a friend or somebody you looked up to a whole lot.
I think looking back at it, and I think the person that probably influenced me most is my dad.
There you go.
Just because he's still alive. It's just kind of, just the work ethic he put in you. Man, I think that's a parent, and I'm blessed to have parents that were around, around me, made me do things the right way, stayed on me about my grades. Where these kids we got now, these kids don't have that. A lot of these kids you coaching, and in my early days, I didn't see that as much coaching. And now the older I've gotten, the more I've been around, and the more I see the impact you have on these kids is tremendous. That they don't get at the house. Sure. We could be the only ones telling them right from wrong, and they're frustrating. It gets on your nerves, but you just got to know. I think that was definitely the biggest impact on me growing up was my parents.
That's awesome.
When it comes to coaching wise, my coaching profession, looking back at it, the ones I hated the most whenever I played were the ones that really had the biggest impact on me because they're the ones that stayed on my butt. And maybe, and so I'm more of that guy. If I'm sure there's kids out there that didn't like playing for me, and maybe when they get older, think, hey, he was on me for a reason. So I really don't have anybody, just one particular person, I guess, besides my parents. Was able to coach with some guys that I learned a lot from too.
Now, as you came through the ranks, and let's talk about football coaching in general. Now you've obviously been a head coach and a very successful one. Well, when did you kind of turn your focus more on defense? How did that come about, or is that something you've always kind of believed in, more of a defensive type mind?
I get, when I was at Springville, when I coached with Coach Curry, I started coaching with Trip Curry, who was at Cherokee County. I guess when he got there, I was in 96 or 97. And so we had to, I coached, helped with the O-line and helped with the D-line. So you did everything because you didn't have enough coaches. Then I really learned both sides of the ball. I guess I just And playing wise, when I played football, I was, 10th grade, I played offense. And then I never moved to defense till my junior year. And so, I don't know, I think my personality fits defensive more than offensive guy, you know.
There you go.
I always tell these offensive guys, my next life, I'm going to be an offensive coach. It's a lot easier. So. And so with Trip was a defensive guy, and that was really the first guy I really worked with. And so he had a lot of impact on me in defense, and I guess it just stood. I stayed with it. So,
you know, now you've taken over here at Clay and been very successful, but you know, you went to the semis with St. Clair,
right.
and like I said, you've been successful everywhere. What, in your words, what's the biggest difference from being a coordinator and being a head coach?
It's night and day.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like, and I, as a head coach, you had everything you had to worry about other besides football. You know, like going out to practice every day would be, all right, what problems might arise today? And you don't think about that as a coordinator, you know. You don't sit in that office where you have emails you got answers and mamas you got to, and little Johnny got in trouble in second period and they're coming to you to make sure you take care of it. And I've always heard that the best assistant coaches were ex-head coaches. And when I was at St. Clair, you know, I hired Coach Dampier. He was my OC who had been a head coach, and he was able to help me with a bunch of that stuff that other assistant coaches don't think about, you know. Like in here, I'm able to help Coach Gilman with a lot of stuff, like, hey, ordering stuff, taking care of problems before they arise, before they hit his desk. There's a bunch of stuff that goes on that you have no clue about. That other than football's a simple part. You know, like I always tell everybody I hated the summer more than anything in the world because I was more busy in the summer than I was during the season. I love when the season started because as a head coach, the summer was a pain in the butt. Eligibility, making sure grades are right, getting everything ordered that need to be ordered, making sure you got pregame meals taken care of for the next upcoming. There's just so much other stuff that, especially a program this size, you know, when you're dealing with 125, 130 kids, there's a lot of stuff that you got to take care of that you don't think about. So
yeah, it definitely makes sense.
Yeah, and so it's been really good for me, you know, to sit back this last 3 years, and because when I told my wife I was thinking about doing it, she goes, "You won't be happy doing that." And this is the best job I've ever had. You know, working for great people, and it's been really, really good for me.
What was it about Clay that you seen the potential there that made you make that move to come over here to be the DC?
One is the administration. You know, you got a principal like we have here at this school. You're not going to find it anywhere else. And number two, working for a guy that you trust. You know, who's not all about ego and about all that type of stuff. You know, there's some guys that you work for that are all about ego and me and instead of we. And so that's another thing. Familiarity with the place. 3 of the guys who coached with me on defense, 2 of them coached for me at Pinson. So there's a lot of familiarity here. Plus you have good players, you know, and in this will be my 21st year in education, and I made it to it's funny, my first 3 years of coaching, we made it to the semifinals twice and the quarters once. And so I thought that was, as a young coach, that was supposed to happen. And then it takes me 15 more years to get to the semifinals, and we're, you know, a fumble and 30 seconds away from playing for state championship. So I want to win, you know. I mean, and this is a place I think you can do it. You know?
Absolutely. And
so that's my whole goal, you know, is I want to be somewhere. I want a state championship.
Now, you've coached, like we've talked about, you know, head coach and coordinator, but for a young coach in general, just say a guy who just graduated who's looking to get into coaching, what's something you could tell him and everybody in his shoes that you've learned through experience from being a new coach? What would be some words of wisdom you'd tell a young coach coming up?
Shut up and listen, number one. You know, I think a lot of young guys, it's hard to find, and I think it's the society we live in. It's hard to find people that don't want it right now. It's instant gratification society. And so these young guys come in, not all of them, but some come in thinking that, hey, I want to be a coordinator within first 3 years. Well, it doesn't happen that way. You know, I'm a lot better coach today than I was last year. And so I learn something new every year. I think another thing you need to do is find out what you want to do. Like say, if I want to be the best offensive coordinator that I can possibly be, you better go learn defense. Because if you don't know defense, you can't be an offensive coordinator. So many times I've worked with guys and we'll come in there and they'll say, well, what are they running secondary wise? Well, they're cover two. Well, no, that's quarters. No, is this, no, run a quarter? No. Well, and I'll explain to them. And I try to go in there and say, look, this is what you look for to know what they're running in the secondary. It's not because they got too high. Everybody thinks they're too high. Well, they're quarters, they're cover two. Well, no, it's not. They're doing something different. So I think that's one good thing. I was lucky enough to have to coach both sides of the ball. A lot of these guys now too want to come out and go to your Thompsons and your Hoovers right off the bat. I think going to a small school, having to coach offense and defense and learning both of them and special teams, I think that's be a well-rounded and learn everything. I think that's the biggest key I would give to young guys is do that and be humble, and get to a place where you trust the guy you're working with. That's another big, and don't, I know it's a lot, I'm kind of throwing out, but don't,
that's why we're here.
Yeah, don't look to jump. The grass ain't always greener at the other side, and you got these guys, I call them, and I got good friends of mine this way. They're always looking on those classifieds. This job's open. What job's open? What job's open? What, looking to get another job. Well, that sticks with you. When I'm interviewing, when I took a resume from somebody and they sent me that resume, and first thing I looked at, I didn't look at references. I didn't look at anything. I looked at how many played time, where had he been, and how long he been there. Well, there's a reason he's only been at school. He's been to 10 schools in 10 years. There's a reason. Either one, he's not very good. Okay.
There you go.
Or number two, he's always looking for a better place. So
grass is always greener.
Yeah. So the shortest I've ever, St. Clair was the shortest I've ever been in a place was 2 years. And I left there just because, I was tired of being a head coach and got a new family and remarried and young kids. And this job was 6 miles away from my house. So, but
that was a blessing.
Yeah. I mean, it was really good. I always, when I got fired at Pinson, it was the worst point in my life and the best point in my life. I had just, got custody of I had an 8-month-old child and a 5-year-old I just got custody of. Got fired and met my wife from the wife I have now that we hadn't talked in 15 years. I knew her when we were, in high school. And it all came about from her reaching out to me on Facebook, when after I got fired. And we
power of social media.
Yeah, I'm telling you. So and that was what was funny. The principal that fired me at Pinson, when I saw him and introduced, my wife to him, she thanked him for firing me because we were so he was kind of like,
what?
Yeah. So there's no hard feelings. I mean, it is what it is. So,
oh yeah. No doubt.
But it was so.
You just mentioned your family, and I always love to ask coaches this. This is something that each coach has a different answer, and there's no right or wrong. But love to hear your view on: is there a point that you take off the coaching hat and just become dad or husband? Does that ever happen?
It is, but I'm gonna tell you something. I'm coaching my son right now in Little League baseball. Matter of fact, when we leave here today, we got practice at 5, and it's hard. I mean, it's really hard because I'm hard on him, and I'm hard on those, and they're 9-year-olds out there. And my wife said, she's like, you holler at him too much, and I was like, it's just hard to take that, to get that.
Right.
And so I've got to do a better job at that. I don't do a good enough job at that. I remember when I first started coaching him, I coached in Trustful as they were 6 or 7-year-olds. And Stuart Floyd's son, who's the head coach at Mortimer Jordan, he and I were assistants to another guy. And we were coming home from practice one day and Nathan goes, Danny, I said, yeah. He said, why do you and Coach Floyd talk alike? And I said, when are you talking about talk alike? He said, y'all are always screaming. I was like, that kind of hit me like, well, son, I guess because we're both high school coaches, and so
that's part of the gig.
Yeah,
man.
it is. Like with him, it's hard. Like I feel like I'm always coaching him in that coach mode. And as a parent, really, that's what you are. You're coaching your children.
Sure.
So now I got my little daughter. That's different. I guess it's with her.
That's it.
It's a lot different with her. So
I've got a son and a daughter. Yeah. You have to say no more, bro.
Yeah.
That's a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what is your getaway though? I mean, what do you do in your spare time when you don't have anything to do?
Like hunt.
Hunt? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
I wouldn't take you for a hunter though.
Hunt. I've just now got back into it really big. I got some land out in Oakville.
It's hard to do though because it's in the fall usually, right?
Well, it's the good thing about here. We practice in the morning, so I can in the afternoons. Okay. I can on Thursdays afternoons. That's my kind of get up in the tree stand and get
clear your mind.
Yeah,
so, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. No doubt. So like, where's your favorite getaway? Like family vacation? Where do you like to take the family to unwind? You know, if I had my rathers, I'd love to be at the lake. You know? I gotcha. So, but now we don't have a place at the lake, so I'd love to have one. I just like the lake. I like the beach, but I don't know, that sand. I'm not a big sand guy. You know, I don't mind it, but it starts getting old.
Yeah, I would rather be sitting on a pier and overlooking a lake. You know, like something like that. So that would be my dream type of thing. So
I'm a mountain guy myself.
Yeah.
I like
we go to the mountains every year. During Thanksgiving or during Christmas holidays, father-in-law takes the whole family. There'll be 20-something of us in the cabin, so I like it up there too. So.
There you go, no doubt. What's playing in your car right now? What will we hear catch you listening to?
Right now in my car, if you hop in my car right now, I think it is on. I've got into Cody Jinks a lot here lately, so I think that's what I got playing right now. But now I remember when I went to St. Clair. I had been at Pinson for 8 years, so I go out there and we had a boom box and they didn't have a weight room. You know, I think music is a huge motivator. So I turn on my iPad, I pull my phone out, put it on there and start playing and it's Tupac or something playing. They kind of look at me like what does this do? Don't play. And then they'll follow up.
They don't know you.
Yeah, the next one's like George Jones. So
there you go.
So I listen to everything. Now, some of this stuff the kids listen to now, I don't. That's what kills me is like, we'll be out of the weight room and the song will come on, they'll know every song, every verse to it. But we go out there in the field and they can't get a blitz now. I'm like, maybe I should start rapping the blitzes so you understand it better. You know, that's what kills me. But yeah, I'm like,
dude, that's awesome.
Everything from hard rock to rap to country to.
There we go. Just versatile.
Yeah. So I'm not just one person, one thing.
It's funny you mentioned kids and the way they are. That's another question I like to ask coaches. How do you keep this millennial generation? How do you keep them dialed into what you need them to do? And because I mean, look, distractions from cars, cell phones, girls, you name it, the distractions are there. How do you keep your guys dialed in here?
I think you have to do it in short bursts with them. You know, what I mean by that is the old days of keeping them 3 hours and 4 hours, and that ain't happening. You know, because that attention span is not there. So, you know, we used to go in there and watch film for 45 minutes. Well,
they're burned.
No, man, they don't do it no more. So, like our practice, we do a really good job. Coach does a really good job of structuring our practices. We're an hour and 30 minutes, hour and 45 at the most. And then we get them out of here. And then we'll bring them back later on during the day and we'll sit down and watch the film, watch the practice film and try to correct what they mistakes. I've started really now too, older I've gotten, is I've started making them coach each other off the film. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, what did he do right? And it's not always what he did wrong. What did he do right? Because, you know, they need positive feedback too. And people that coach with me and players that have coached with me and probably hear this and say, you give positive feedback, you know, they start laughing. Because I was always, hey, this is what's going wrong, you know. But you know, I guess I heard Coach Saban talk about how you got to show kids now what's in it for them. And it's bad that you have to do that, you know, but what's in it for you?
It's part of the generation.
So that's the way it is. So if you don't adapt, then you're backing up and you're getting behind. So, and you got to relate to them. You know, you got to show them you care about them, show them you love them. And kids call, man, that kids will know you bluff real quick nowadays. Like if you know, so
you can't fool them, man.
And it's kind of weird how, you know, I was at Pinson for 8 years and I go to St. Clair, Oakville, which is 15, 20 minutes away. And it's different, but it's the same. You know what I'm saying? There's difference in those kids, but they're also the same when it comes to them. They're the same type kids. So, it's just where they grew up and how they grew up and that type of stuff. So.
That's it. Similar, but different, but similar. What is your biggest motivation at this point in your career personally?
Win a state championship. You know, I mean, that's to be successful, win a state championship. You know, I'm not one on needing a bunch of individual accolades, you know. man, I want to be on a team, be a successful team, and win a state championship, or have that chance.
Yeah.
I'm at the end of my career, and then I guess the next thing would
Coach,
be.
you got about 25, 30 more years than you, easy.
Oh yeah. I mean, I got 5 till I can retire. So,
you're not retired.
But I got a 5-year-old. I also got a 5-year-old daughter. So
Yeah.
I'm not planning on going anywhere. I'm gonna stay in it. I'm 47, so I don't know what I do. Like COVID, when COVID hit, and we were at the house, and God, like I painted outside.
Crazy.
Yeah, I painted outside the house. And I was like,
how many trips to Lowe's did you have?
It was crazy. I was like, I can't. I told my wife we should have bought stock. Like when COVID hit, you should have bought stock in Lowe's, and because that place, it was crazy.
It went insane.
Everybody in our neighborhood was doing something.
That's right.
And all you heard was weed eaters and lawnmowers, but you had to get out of the house. And I don't know. Like my dad's retired. My dad's, I think, retired 3 times now. And he'll keep going back, finding something to do. Because I don't know. I did this for free that's what I tell people. I coached for free for 7 years.
That's when you know you love it.
Yeah, I coached, like when I was at Springville, I was defensive coordinator, going to school full time and working, and had been married. And I remember Coach Curry, after my second season at the banquet, gave me $50. And that's what but I didn't need, like when I go out there to practice, that is a release for me. Like that is like anything going on wrong, I don't even know. It
goes away.
It gone, and so I would do it if I had a wife that won the lottery. That's what Nathan was talking about the lottery. My son said, "What would you do if you won the lottery?" I said, "I'd quit my job." I said, "But I still coach, just because what I'm saying."
For the love.
Yeah, I would still do it. So I don't see me ever not coaching. I'm or at least being a part of it somehow. So I would love to. Whenever I get done, finally figure up that I'm done with coaching, I told Mark, I would sit down and somebody hire me, and I would do nothing but their film breakdown.
That'd be cool.
Like be a guy who takes the other team's offense and breaks them down, and I give you this breakdown, because I love that. That to me, I love breaking down. That's what somebody was talking about one day about offense and what you've seen. I said, man, I've seen every offense known to man. Wing tee, split back veer, gun. I remember when the gun first came to St. Clair County when I was at Springville. Coach Dross brought it to Asheville, because he had been down with Probst. They had all went to Kentucky and met with Mummy, yes, and they brought it to Asheville. And Mark Sanders, not Mark Sanders, was a punter at Alabama. What name did?
It was
Sanders. One brother's coaching it.
Yeah.
Mark.
Mark's at Donahoe.
Yes, his brother. Matthew Sanders was the quarterback. And I'm like, what in the world are they doing? Shotgun throwing all over the place. Man, it was like
it's innovative back then.
Yeah, and so that was, and now that's it's going in full circles. I think if you went back and run triple option out of the eye, you would be like, what are you doing? Played Oak Mountain last year's double slot option, and it was awful because you don't see that anymore. Whenever we was at Springville, that was our offense.
Yeah,
but, so
I'm around a coach that runs the double wing from the gun, Benefield.
Yeah,
people are like, what in the world?
Yeah.
It looks like the same 2 or 3 plays, but there's like 50 formations in it.
And it's amazing. Like, I did a podcast this offseason with the head coach at Grayson in Georgia.
Okay.
And we do something a little different here where our nose, we actually play a bare front, and I stand my nose up. And so our nose guard actually stands up off the ground. And I put it in, we got here. And I told Coach Gilmer, I was like, look, we're going to try this. It might look stupid. I said, and it was really good for us. Well, I did a podcast about it. And so you would be amazed at like the people that contacted me from California all over. And then, so I would get on there because now the great thing about
explain why you did that?
Do it now?
You had to explain why
I was just explaining, hey, this is our read. This is what we do. But one good thing of COVID came out was these Zoom meetings now. So, I can be in, like I talked to a guy.
So you could be up on their board.
Correct.
They could be watching you break this down.
And I would take over their huddle and
that's awesome.
Just watching the team, last Sunday, I was with a guy from California who's coaching a little small school in California, and they're 8-man football. And so and so he's got his huddle. I'm on his huddle.
Cool.
And so it was really cool, like getting to meet a bunch of people and see how everybody does it different. And,
That's cool.
And so that's been really the neat aspect of COVID and everything, learning how to do that. So
That's a game changer right there.
Yep.
Well, let me ask you this, Coach.
Okay.
When a kid departs from you, and when would you know you've been a successful coach? Like, what is the main takeaways that you want a kid to have that comes through your program? I know it's not just football.
Right. I think I want them to have the toughness about them. You know, number one, I want them to, when they get out of
handle
here,
real life situations.
handle adversity. I think parents, the new generation of parents, what I have seen, not all of them grew up in the era I grew up when it comes to being tough and all this, you know. And so I think one is teach them how to be tough. I know me and Coach O'Brien, you know, I think he's the same way when it comes to being an ex-Navy SEAL guy. And when he coached with me, I remember watching him one day. He's got quarterbacks out there and they're doing board drills and he's killing them, man. Like killing them. I'm going, Mark, you know, we only have one of those. He said, well, I want to leave here. I want to be tough, which I think the kid needs to be tough because life's tough. And two, I want them to hopefully learn some respect, you know, that maybe they're not getting taught at the house, and just how to take pride in stuff you have and not take everything for granted. And, you know, hopefully know that when they come back, I might have been hard on them and they may not like me, but 10 years down the road, maybe they'll see the reason why. You know, I could tell, like, already coaches that were impactful in my life. You know, one of them was, I'm still friends with today, was Coach Smith. I told you he was a basketball coach at Springville out Pell City. I hated that man in high school because he was, you know, he was young and he held you accountable and he was, you know, he was tough. But now looking back at it, you know, I see a lot of that in me and what I do. And so I respect him for what he did. So,
at what point do you think you'd be complete as a coach and actually step away? What, you know, as you get a little bit older, you know, you talked about your career, and when will you know it's kind of time to step away?
When I knew the exact reason I knew it was time for me to quit being a head coach, when I didn't like doing it anymore.
You got to where you just didn't want to go to work?
I didn't. I mean, like, I remember the last year we go to St. Clair, and the first year we have a really good season. The next year we come in and we don't have a good season, and it was just every other thing going on. It wasn't so much the players; it was, I don't know, me. I needed a reset. You know, at that point, I'd been a head coach for 15 years, and I remember coming home one day and laying in the floor in the back after practice and just going, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And luckily, Drew contacted me probably right after the season. Hey, would you be interested? And shoot, man, it's been a reset for me, big time. You know, that's what somebody said. Do you want to be a head coach again? I said, if the right situation came about, you know, with the right administration, yeah, I would look at it. But I'm happy to be right here.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. The man knows what he's doing. Let me ask you, this will be the final question right here, Coach. When you do step away from the game, you know, years from now, what do you hope these kids remember you most by?
One, that I was hard on them, but I loved them. And I might have not said it. It was kind of like that, the old grandparent you had, or old granddad you had, who never really said I loved you that much. Right. He was tough on you and you knew he loved you. So that, hopefully I helped them, did something to they took something away from me that maybe they could use in their life, good or bad. Hey, I didn't like what this coach did, so I'm not going to follow his, whatever, you know. So I just hope that, you know, you made an impact. You want to make an impact on kids, and I didn't really see that as much until I came here and kind of sat back. And good thing about coming after being a head coach and coming here and being an assistant, I've sat back and looked at stuff kind of like Coach Gilmer does, that does right or something. I think maybe, hey, I did the same thing. And I've taken a big reset in my life and how I approach now kids and coaching and all that stuff. So I'm a lot more laid back than I ever was. And so, but I'm still
knocks the pressure off of you a little bit.
Yep. So, but yeah, you know, that's the big thing. Just hope the kids, hey, knew you cared about them, knew you loved them, and did something to impact them.
There we go, Coach. It's been a pleasure, sitting in and talking with you. We're going to keep in touch with you guys and come out here and do some more interviews with you guys. But it's been an absolute pleasure in my end.
Hey, man,
I appreciate it.
I appreciate what y'all doing for sports. You know, I mean, not enough people do this, especially local sports around here. You know, they've kind of put in high school football to the side.
Yeah.
And so just appreciate everything y'all. I know I'll keep up with y'all. I know y'all more North Alabama, but I do keep up with y'all. And every time y'all have an interview, I'll get on there and look at it just to see. So
I appreciate that.
Appreciate everything y'all do.
Thank you so much, Coach.